Khuddhaka Nikàya. Vol 2. Pedavathu. Also known as, Stories of the Departed/Relatives/Ancestors. The path of Buddha is the path of compassion and harmony for all beings. It strives to make human consciousness evolve higher, however it does not forget those who have met the wrong end, i.e. ghost. Buddha offers a way to harmonize with the realm of ghosts by helping them, since all creatures are related to each other, who have been one's ancestors/relatives in some previous lives. Buddha teaches to donate in the name of ghosts/ancestors, which would surely benefit them, as well as help the needy of the world, generating goodwill for all, and in turn help earn merit for the donor too. Hence, it is three-way beneficent. Pedavathu contains stories, each explaining how unwholesome deeds led to the rebirth of a being into the miserable realm of the hungry ghosts and how they were helped. Collection of little texts. Khuddhaka Nikàya. Pedavathu. Resemblance to cultivated farm. While Lord Buddha was staying at the Kalandakanivapa in Veluvana monastery near Rajagaha, he told this story. At Rajagaha there was an immensely wealthy man known by the name of Thanissaro. He had an only son, who was amiable and charming. When he grew up, his parents thought, if our son spends 1,000 per day, even in 100 years, this wealth will not come to an end. They did not teach him a skill, thinking since the learning of a skill would be a fatiguing exertion, let him with body and mind comfortably enjoy his wealth. Instead, when he was come of age, they procured him a charming bride, but totally lacking in Dhamma. With her he passed the time, given to enjoyment, delighting in and hankering after pleasure. At the death of his parents he gave lavishly to dancers, singers, and others, thus wasted his wealth. He became poor. He managed to live by borrowing money. But when he could no longer secure and was pressed by his creditors, he gave them field and farm, house, and his other possessions, and became a beggar, and started living in the place for poor and orphans in the same city. Now one day some robbers met him and thus addressed him, "Look here, man, what do you get out of this hard life? You are young and active. Come with us and make a comfortable living by stealing." The thieves gave him a large club. As they entered a house in which they had made a breach, they stationed him at the opening, saying, "If anyone else comes here, strike him and kill him." He, mentally dull and could not knowing friend-foe, stood there and awaited only the approach of others. Now the people of the house got up running very quickly and looking this way and that, saw the man standing at the breach. With the words, "Here they are, the rogues, the thieves," they seized him, and brought him before the king, saying, "Lord, this thief was caught housebreaking." The king commanded the town watch cut off his head. They took him in custody and led him to the place of execution, flogging him with whips as he went along after the execution drum. At the same time the populace shouted, "This plundering robber has been captured in the city." Now at that moment in the same city, a town dancer, Sulasa by name, was standing at the window of her storied house. She saw him led along, and since she had been acquainted with him in the past, she felt sympathy for him, who had attained great prosperity in this very town. She sent out modak and water and had this message delivered to the town watchman: "May your honor wait until this man has eaten these sweets and drunk the water." Now while in this same city the venerable Moggallana, with the help of the illumination of his meditative divine insight, noticed this man's predicament, his mind was moved with compassion, and he thought, since this man has not accomplished any merit, but done wickedness, he will be reborn in hell. Now, if I go and he gives me the sweets and the drink, he will be reborn among the terrestrial devas. Let me help this man. He accordingly appeared before the culprit as the drink and sweets were being brought for him. When he saw the elder monk, his mind was at ease, and he thought, "What benefit shall I get from eating these sweets if I am put to death? Now these will become provisions for my journey to the other world." So he had the sweets and the water given to the elder monk. When Moggallana saw that his misery had grown into joy, he sat down, ate and drank and arose and went his way. The man, however, was led by the headman to the place of execution and beheaded. On account of the pious act done to the elder Moggallana, unsurpassed field of merit was received by him and he was worthy of rebirth in the angel world. However, at that time his affection went forth to the dancer Sulasa, as he thought, I attained this gift thanks to her. And so at the moment of death his mind became impure and he was reborn in a lower state and became a tree god in roots of a large banyan tree of dense shade in a jungle. Now it came to pass that he, seeing the dancer Sulasa in her garden, he took her to his abode, who stayed happily there for a week. Her mother was lamenting, so she asked him to take her back. Upon return, when people asked her, she told them that due to the good deed of donation done to the elder monk Moggallana, the man has attained a happy afterlife. The people were full of wonder and said, the Arihants are truly incomparable field for making merit, even a small act of good done unto them gives men rebirth among devas. Monks narrated the whole episode to the Lord Buddha, who spoke these stanzas in explanation of this. Like cultivable farms are the Arihants. The donors are like the farmers. Resembling seed is the gift. From this great is the fruit that comes thereafter. This seed and cultivated field are for the benefit of Pitas and the giver. With this the Pitas are gratified, the givers also increase in piousness with this act. For doing meritorious act of donation here on earth and thus honoring the Pitas, to heaven indeed he goes as his destination, since he has done a good deed. At the end of discourse, including the man, the Sulasa, 84,000 beings converted to Dhamma. Pig-headed ghost. While the teacher was staying at Kalandakanivapa in Veluvana monastery in Rajagaha, he told this story of the pig-headed ghost. Once upon a time, in the times of earlier Lord Kassapa, a monk, subdued his body from sins but due to lacking restraint in speech, abused monks. After death he was reborn in hell. After he had roasted there for one Buddha interval, he left and was reborn in the present Buddha period near Rajagaha, at the foot of the vulture peak. As a result of that very offense, he was afflicted with hunger and thirst. His body was gold-colored, but his mouth was like that of a pig. At that time Venerable Elder Monk Narada was staying at Vulture Peak. With bowl and robe, he set out very early in the morning for alms. On his way to Rajagaha city he saw the Pita on the road. In asking him about the deed he had done, he spoke the following stanza. Your body golden all over, illuminating all regions. But your mouth is simply that of a pig. What deed you have done in previous lives? In my body I was subdued. In my speech I was not restrained. Therefore, I have such an appearance as you see, Narada. The Pita also gave the elder this advice. So Narada, I myself, tell you this which you see for yourself. Do not commit evil with your mouth, else indeed you become one with pig mouth. Then the Venerable Narada, having made his round for alms in Rajagaha, returned from collecting alms and told this incident to the teacher. Buddha told him that he also had seen that Pita earlier and used this story for teaching Dhamma. Ghost with rotten mouth. While the teacher was staying at Squirrels Sanctuary in Veluvana Monastery, he told this story. Once upon a time in the days of the Lord Kassapa, two men of good family, under his instruction, left the worldly life. Abounding in the practice of morality and living with austere penance, they lived harmoniously at a certain settlement in a village. Then a certain monk of evil disposition, who found delight in slander, came to their abode. The elders received him kindly and on the second day went with him to collect alms. The people who were rendering the elders the highest possible obedience and serving them with rice gruel, boiled rice, and other foods. And he thought, nice is this village is a resort for alms, and the people, endowed with faith, give savoury food. Here is shade too and water. One can live happily here. But not as long as these monks are dwelling in the same place. Well then, I shall so act as to do for them so that they come not again to stay here. And he slandered them the one to the other. They both became gradually suspicious and thought, it may, after all, be so, and lost trust, avoided each other, and soon, without telling each other, each went to a pleasanter place. The people asked the slanderous monk, "Reverend sir, where are the elders gone?" He replied, "All night they were quarreling with each other. They went out and left without heeding my words, as I said, do not quarrel, be harmonious. And among other things I added, those who are such are only happy with big fight." Then the people said, "Just let the elders go. For our sake, however, you stay here and have no regrets." He agreed, saying, "All right." While dwelling there he considered, after a few days, through greed for a dwelling, I made these monks leave. Alas! I have been done evil. Overcome by deep regret and having fallen ill, in a short time he died and was reborn in Avicii hell. Later he was born in this Buddha period not far from Rajagaha as a Pita with a rotten mouth. His body was gold-colored, but worms coming out here and there from his mouth, were devouring it, as it emitted a foul smell. Then the venerable Narada, coming from Vulture's Mount, saw him and asked him in this stanza about his deeds. "You have a beautiful, heavenly complexion. Floating, you are standing in the air. Yet worms are devouring your mouth, which has a foul smell. What acts did you do in past?" The Pita replied, "A monk I was, but wicked and of ill speech. Though I lived in austerity, I did not control my speech. So I obtained my complexion from austerity, but due to ill speech, I received a rotten mouth. Now this has been seen by yourself, Narada. They who are compassionate and virtuous would say, 'Do not backbite nor speak falsely.' Then you can become a yakha, enjoying as you will." The Biscuit Doll. While the teacher was staying at Savatthi in Jetavana Grove, he told this incident. A nurse had given Anathapindika's granddaughter a biscuit doll as a plaything. The child let it fall one day and it broke. She cried out, "My daughter is dead," and wept, and none of the servants could pacify her. Now at that time the Lord Buddha was in the home of the householder Anathapindika, who was seated near him. The nurse took the child and went to the rich man, who said, "Why is the girl crying?" Took her on his lap and then had made her happy by saying, "I will give you another gift." Anathapindika then said to the Lord Buddha, "Reverend sir, for the sake of my granddaughter, on account of the biscuit doll only, I am anxious to bestow a gift. Therefore consent to come tomorrow to my house with 500 monks." Lord Buddha agreed. Accordingly the Lord Buddha came, and after the meal, he gave thanks and spoke these words. "With whatever concern the liberal one should give a gift to the forefathers and the departed, or also to the deity gods. And to the four great kings, the celestial guardians of the world, Kuvera, Dhataratha, Virapakha, and Viryalakha. With this they are worshipped, and the givers are not without reward. For mere weeping and grief or any other lamentation is of no avail. All this is of no help to the Pitas. Such a practice have the kinsmen. But indeed this gift given to the Sangha is well acknowledged, with immediate effect serves a long time for the benefit of the departed and of Pitas, and is well rewarding." Thus Lord Buddha taught the practice of appeasing Pitas and departed with the donations and then left. The rich man's wife and his relatives too followed his example. Thus they gave great gifts for a month. Then King Pasendi of Kosala, hearing this, also presented bounteous gifts to the assembly. When the citizens saw this, they in turn did as the king, for a whole month practiced great giving, a great generosity which has its origin in the humble biscuit doll. Pitas outside the walls. While the teacher was living at Rajagaha, he told this story. 92 kappas ago there was a city called Kasi. In that place King Jayasena was reigning. His queen was called Sarima.